Torrential rain has caused major flooding in eastern and southern India, killing at least 48 people and forcing more than 70,000 to evacuate. In southern Andhra Pradesh state, the Krishna River overflowed its banks, leaving 32 people dead. About 15,000 houses in the state were damaged and more than 72,000 people fled their homes. The Indian government has deployed military personnel for rescue work. Troops have been airlifting relief supplies to isolated villages. Eastern and southern coastal regions of India were struck by a powerful cyclone 2 weeks ago. 38 people died.
19 teams of NDRF have been deployed, with over 200 camps set up. Cyclone Phelan may have spared these states, but the monsoons not as forgiving.
Live pictures from Japan now, the country now that has expanded its tsunami advisory to 5 prefectures after an earthquake struck off the coast near the crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant with a magnitude of around 7.3.
A predicted 1-meter high wave measured just 30 centimeters when it hit. Tremors could be felt as far away as Tokyo, though the epicenter was 320 kilometers off land. The quake struck at 2:10 a.m. local time, and many workers at the Fukushima nuclear power plant were evacuated to higher ground, though there were no immediate reports of damage or a change in radiation readings.
But it's hard to know just how much stock to put into that, given the company's misleading statements following the 2011 disaster.
We head overseas now into Europe, into that ferocious storm hammering the UK, the Netherlands, and France all right now.
The storm, named St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes, has left a devastating mark with more than a dozen killed. In the heart of London, a crane buckling under the winds, collapsing. The building below evacuated. The Deputy Prime Minister forced to call off a news conference. Hundreds of trees uprooted, blocking roads and railway tracks. The gas lines of this home exploding. The storm marched into northern Europe, tossing trucks and snarling trains in the Netherlands. In Germany, the famed speedy highway, the Autobahn, closed. Winds reaching 120 miles per hour in Denmark. The storm's assault of France devastated homes and ripped down power lines, leaving more than 500,000 people without electricity.
Part of a deadly storm, one of the worst to hit the region in years.
Dubbed St. Jude in the UK, the storm was for some reason given the name Christian as it slammed into Germany and France with winds of up to 160 kilometers per hour, bringing torrential rain.
The mysterious die-off of West Coast sea stars is spreading.
The so-called melting sea stars were first noticed in Vancouver, then in Seattle, and now in California.
Few people would want to touch one of these. Sunflower sea stars infected with a strange melting disease, literally coming apart in the hands of biologists. Victims they brought up were in various stages of the disease. The estimates of infected sea stars has grown from 30% to 50 or 60% in just a few days. And now biologists in California are finding it too. Biologists need to find out if big cities like Vancouver, Seattle, and those in the Bay Area are causing it, or if they're just the first places to notice it. Is it a natural disease? Is it triggered by environmental factors, city runoff, acidification, or climate change?
So far, it's only impacting the sunflower species of sea star. But biologists say it's a delicate balance in these waters, and when one species is hurting, it threatens to impact the entire ecosystem.
Deadly weather that swept through the nation's midsection is bearing down on the East Coast this morning. Flash floods killed at least 2 people near Austin, Texas. Storms dumped more than a foot of rain in the area. Water rose to the roofs of some homes. Emergency crews rescued dozens.
Hundreds are without power, and in some areas, the waters are so high that only the tops of the cars are visible.
Another a second. Yesterday, the rain came down fast and furious in certain parts of our state, and most of it happened overnight. Look at some of the video we got in overnight.
The U.S. Geological Survey reporting tonight that at its highest level, water at Onion Creek and 183 hit a record of 41 feet.
It rose to its highest level in 92 years. So, Sam, you could say this is almost a 100-year flood.
Well, the local media is saying it's probably an algae, but it's very rare, not so common for this to happen in the Netherlands, so that's a bit of a mystery in and of itself. So they're not really sure why the water is turning red here in Noodorp.
The last solar eclipse of the year was seen on Sunday in parts of Africa, the United States, and Europe. It was considered a rare hybrid eclipse, where some parts of the world saw an annular or partial eclipse, and others were expected to see a total eclipse. In the U.S., a partial eclipse was visible from the East Coast shortly after sunrise. The sun slowly changed shape from a golden sphere into a crescent after the moon moved between the sun and the earth.
This morning, people in Southern California are talking about last night's galactic surprise. An apparent meteor sent a fireball shooting across the horizon.
This is security cam video of what many residents in Southern California believe was a meteor blazing across the sky last night.
From as far south as San Diego to as far north as LA. On top of last night's show, astronomers say we're heading into a period of heavy meteor activity next week.
Emergency phone lines and social media lit up with reported sightings. And as Carter Evans shows us, it could be the prelude to something bigger.
In February, a meteor strike in Russia did more than just light up the sky. More than 1,000 people were injured when an asteroid exploded over the city of Chelyabinsk. Experts called it an unusual event that occurs once every 100 or 200 years. But according to a new study from Nature International Weekly Journal of Science, Earth could be hit by a similar meteor strike once every 1 or 2 decades. Physics professor Dr. Michio Kaku spoke to CBS This Morning last month.
We are sitting ducks. That was a wake-up call, what happened in Russia, right? But we can't rely on luck forever. Sooner or later, it's inevitable a big one will hit the Earth.
This is what the inside of a super typhoon looks like. 250-kilometer-an-hour plus winds slamming into a city. A white haze of screaming noise, smashing windows, tearing metal, water and flying debris.
One of the strongest storms ever to form on this planet is making landfall tonight with nearly 10 million people in the bullseye.
We're looking at the aftermath of one of the strongest storms ever to tear across the ocean and smash into land. That super typhoon, 195-mile-per-hour winds,
tore through the Philippines, causing chaos and mass destruction. More than 1 million people were forced to flee their homes, many now trying to salvage what's left.
Ferocious winds and tree-high tidal surges of Typhoon Haiyan destroyed roads, bridges and homes across a wide swath of the central Philippines. Phone lines are down, power is out. Hundreds of thousands are thronging relief centers, desperate for life's necessities.
Many have nowhere to go. The winds and the storm surge wiped away almost every home in the city. Tacloban's airport is strewn with wreckage, making it that much harder for the military and Red Cross to get aid to the suffering.
Waves offshore have been measured at 50 feet. The storm is about 500 miles wide, nearly reaching the capital city of Manila.
But we know tens of thousands of people are now homeless in that area. This is another common scene that we've been hearing about from witnesses. People just sort of bobbing in the water because of the extreme amount of flooding as well as the wind gusts. So they're trying to get rescued from the water. This is an image of that, but there are reports of countless bodies just sort of floating around in that area. It's a devastating scene. There are a number of other issues.
Officials now estimating the death toll at 2,500, though that is expected to grow.
The Red Cross says 1,000 are feared dead in one city alone, and the death toll in the Philippines is only expected to rise as rescue workers enter the worst hit areas.
Rescue teams are now starting to see the true horror of Super Typhoon Haiyan.
raw moments of rescue. The central Philippines wading through after being washed away.
As soon as you step onto the ground here, the magnitude of the destruction hits you full in the face. Everything is gone.
It wasn't the wind that did all this, it was water. It's as if this has been destroyed by a tsunami, and in many ways it has. An enormous 4-meter storm surge swept into the coast, crushed all of these buildings, the whole of this neighborhood flattened.
Aid continues to be distributed in the Philippines, where at least 3,971 people died and over 1,100 are missing.
Under what may be the most violent typhoon to ever make landfall. The U.S. military tonight has joined the massive operation to bring relief to coastal towns that have simply been wiped from the map, others buried under fields of barely recognizable debris. The power is out, water and food in short supply, and bodies remain to be recovered. Officials say close to 500,000 people have been displaced tonight. All many can do is pray for those they've lost and pray for relief.
This is one of those lifetime events that I don't think we'll see in our lives again.
Haiyan, the storm that did so much damage to the Philippines, was down to tropical storm status when it made landfall in Vietnam Monday morning. The Vietnamese National Weather Agency says the storm hit the northern part of the country on its way to southern China.
Heavy rain and flooding caused additional problems to the strong winds, which uprooted trees and ripped off roofs. More than 10 people were reported killed in Vietnam. State media said the country had escaped the worst. In China, the main danger is feared to come from rainfall.
The Typhoon Haiyan has also affected China. In northeastern Taiwan, 8 people were killed and 8 others injured after being hit by 8-meter-high waves whipped up by the storm.
Haiyan is the 30th and strongest typhoon to hit China this year.
People in Somalia are cleaning up from a tropical cyclone. The storm ripped through on Sunday and Monday. More than 100 people were killed. Hundreds more are missing.
The final death toll could rise to as high as 300 as heavy rain continues to batter the region. Flash flooding triggered by torrential falls had led to the loss of about 100,000 livestock.
The devastation caused by a cyclone in northeastern Somalia's Puntland region. This is the result of 72 hours of continuous rainfall. The floods that followed destroyed lives.
News out of Florida today had to do with something we're seeing a lot more of lately, and that's sinkholes opening up across the state. Today, another one came to life.
Several homes near Tampa being evacuated right now because of that sinkhole that has opened up. Crews did shut off power to the area, evacuated at least 7 homes overnight after reports that one home was in fact collapsing.
Authorities are worried, though, because the hole is already 35 feet across and it is growing.
This is what a 200-mile-per-hour tornado sounds like, ripping through Washington, Illinois, and right into Chris Lancaster's house.
We begin with storms. The Midwest is dealing with widespread destruction this morning after a powerful line of storms. Forecasters say they've received at least 80 reports of tornadoes Sunday. People in Illinois, it is one of the state's deadliest tornado disasters ever for this time of year.
8 deaths, most of them in Illinois, after rough weather that stretched across 12 states in all, and all in the space of one strangely violent day. It was hard to believe, really, a wild outbreak of tornadoes. What the weather forecasting business calls a second season outbreak in a place where they assumed the danger had passed for this year.